afternoon, welcome to Network. My name is Spumele Lezundi with your technology and social media news. I'll tell you why I'm at the beach in Durban a bit later on in the program, but it's because of a new app. We hope you still are wearing those masks as the president requested us to when we are in crowded spaces or with other people. Otherwise, keep that social distancing to keep it safe. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. This week, our Twitter poll is asking us if you think phone lines are still important in the home or in the workplace. Results of that are coming up later in the program. Firstly, here's what's coming up tonight. We look at new digital skills that can help people into the future. We review the Oppo A72 smartphone, and our discussion is about the new SABC streaming service that should be launching in a little while. South Africa's unemployment rate has gone up to 30.8%. During the country's hard lockdown, many businesses folded. While the lockdown was accredited to this, things going digital is seen to have contributed too. The government has been talking about the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or 4IR, and upskilling people. What's clear is that a lot of work needs to be done still.
South Africa were quite behind in terms of catching up with the demands of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. In fact, even the other three revolutions that have pursued, that have preceded the Fourth Industrial Revolution, were still grappling with the demands of those revolutions. The issue of electricity, for example, came with the Second Industrial Revolution, but we still have areas that don't have electricity in our province, in our country. The Third Industrial Revolution came with the digitization of things. We still have areas that are not connected or don't have connectivity across the province.
The problem raised is that much of South Africa's digital infrastructure is concentrated in just a few places, which would then be the only places that get opportunities.
It is in the rural municipalities where you need to try and accelerate. Why accelerating? You're accelerating because the opportunities are minimal as compared to your serious urban areas like your metros and so on.
The majority of the connectivity is centered in around 6 key cities in the country where we see the predominance of our BPO and GBS activity. That would be in the Eastern Cape, East London and Port Elizabeth. The Western Cape, it would be Cape Town, and KZN would be Durban and the Umhlanga environment under the eThekwini municipality, and in Gauteng it would be Pretoria and Johannesburg.
Recently, we heard that some big international organizations are outsourcing their call center and other work. But they need people to be connected at home.
One of our most recent successes that we've seen as a country is AWS, Amazon Web Services, actually setting up an additional 3,000 seats in South Africa. And what is phenomenal about the way that Amazon has chosen to contract in South Africa for these data support, data analytics seats is that they will be doing these in community.
A lot of the work of deploying infrastructure needed for industries to digitize and for people to get what would be 4IR skills needs to be done by government.
The reason that we are getting into digital transformation, the reason we're talking about the 4th IR as cities, as municipalities, as rural municipalities, it is because we have to close the gap between ourselves and the citizens that we're actually servicing. And failure for us to do so, I don't think we'll be able to achieve what we want to achieve.
Despite this, there are organizations that are already forging ahead in exposing people to even the most basic of tech skills. Vodacom has teamed up with the Durban University of Technology and the Provincial Education Department to offer first exposure to high school girls.
We have to train girls, or we have to train learners from an early age to be able to move, especially within the Fourth Industrial Revolution, especially within coding and robotics. And this is, I think, the first baby step towards achieving that.
The program in a week is really meant to give them a taste, give them a little bit of an appetite for something that they haven't previously been afforded. So we're really hoping that it's a taste that's enough. We want to give the program legs by then saying to each of the girls from the 12 districts, go back. In fact, when they come to the program, they're already going to come with ideas of a local business that we're going to build a website for. You heard me making the link to two other companies, being Google and Facebook, whose social media elements we want to bring into the program, and really take a little business that's in a township or rural area and see, can we really create a digital transformation in an informal area like that?
It's a very important program because it gives exposure to these young girls who are in deep rural areas, who are not exposed into major things that are happening around society.
The country also needs skills that go beyond this. The lack of digital infrastructure in South Africa means many don't even have exposure to coding skills. Within Code offers this skill for free to unemployed people up to the age of 35, but they need to be in Johannesburg.
The SME placement program is an ecosystem play. Essentially, what we identified is corporate South Africa is ready to sponsor the training of youth. We found a catchment of talented youth that has high aptitude for software development, and then identified SMEs that couldn't afford to pay the tuition, but definitely have a need for the talent.
While much seems to be done still to improve tech skills in South Africa, rural communities will be left further behind if digital infrastructure, including the most basic connectivity issues, are not resolved. Now, the reason we're at the beach today is because of a new mobile phone application. Now, for a long time, there was a lot of information about different kinds of fish that fishermen could catch, but this information slowly disappeared from shops. Now, a new app aims to help with this regard. Here's Minosh Nipile.
Fishing is a much-loved pastime for many Durbanites. The Marine Fish Guide of Southern Africa is making informed and responsible fishing easier.
Quite often you catch a fish, you don't recognize what species it is. Using the app, you can easily work out what fish that is, so it's very easy. Most importantly are the fishing regulations. Nowadays, you just cannot find the regulations. They're not on brochures at the cattle stores anymore. So this app now has those regulations at a push of a button away from you. So if you catch a fish, you can immediately see what the bag limit is, what the size limit, is there a close season.
Man says the app is also useful for law enforcement officials along the country's coastline.
So if law enforcement fisheries control officers were able to have this phone in their pocket and they came across some species that were caught by fishermen, if they didn't know them, they could look them up really quickly and they could work out very quickly what the regulations were.
Competitive fishermen who practice catch and release are also set to benefit.
As much as it will interest them, it will inform them as well with the capture, the species, the limit, and it also gives you information on how to capture it. Its type of food, its staple diet, where you'll find it off rocky ledges and deep points, at which time of the year. Very informative.
All proceeds from the app go towards the Institute's cooperative fish tagging project that allows scientists to learn critical information about South Africa's lionfish species.
Well, that's going to help fishermen folk come to the digital age too. Now, Oppo is a smartphone brand that comes from China. They've been popular in India and other parts of the African continent for a long while now, but they're now trying to introduce themselves to the South African market and Europe as well. I've been playing around with the Oppo A72. If you buy the Oppo A72, remember it's not a 40,000 Rand device, but a 7,000 Rand phone. For that range, it's pretty good. It has a 6.5-inch display screen. The back is plastic, which could mean it gets dirty quickly, but Oppo gives you a cover for that in the box when you buy it. For security, there's the fingerprint on the unlock button, face recognition, and PIN access. I enabled all three, and more than a week later, haven't had problems. So let's take it to play. I've brought the Oppo A72 to Msinga with me. I'm going on a hike in a few minutes, but I wanted to grab a few things in town before I go in that direction. And this video has been taken with the Oppo A72 smartphone. Its triple rear camera is impressive for a 7,000 rand device. It includes a 48 megapixel AI quad camera with an 8 megapixel wide angle lens. The front has a 16 megapixel selfie camera. I'm really terrible at taking selfies, but I do know that a lot of people love front cameras because they want to film themselves, and especially when there's no one around. So this is the front camera, and this is the type of video that this Oppo A72 smartphone can take. I am still in Msinga, about to hike on the Chief Bambata Zondi's train. This phone has a 4K video capability. I documented the torture of the climb up Chief Bambata Zondi's rock. When this particular trail started, I thought it was flat because it was flat for quite a huge part of the journey. Now we've started going up the mountain, and it is a relatively warm day, so yeah, it's not the easiest. These photos of the hike I went on in Msinga were taken with the phone. Oppo is new to South Africa, and it seems like it comes with a punch in the entry-level to mid-range smartphone area. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, News Network at sabc.co.za on email. After the break, we chat to Tepo Chabalala, Director of GemLab at Wits University. We chat about the SABC proposing a video-on-demand service. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Welcome back. Now, the South African Broadcasting Service, or the SABC, has had a few issues in the past with people not paying their TV licenses. A lot of people have also been migrating to pay TV. So, to come to the digital age, the SABC has teamed up with Telkom, and they're proposing a new streaming service.
News on TelkomONE, a mobile streaming service recently launched by one of South Africa's biggest telecommunications company, Telkom, and public broadcaster SABC, is, according to tech enthusiast Grant Hines, exciting.
I'm extremely excited about TelkomONE, and the main reason is that I think that SABC really needs to move into a new direction. I think they should have done this a long time ago, and partnering with a mobile provider or data provider means that potentially we're going to be seeing some really high quality content. I think SABC are uniquely positioned because they've got an archive of content that they've commissioned over the course of many decades that we can have access to via a streaming service, and then shifting their business model to that might even be able to position themselves as an international provider of content if they've got the foresight to do that, which is more lucrative. The BBC do this with the Planet Earth series and a bunch of other shows where we can export our amazing culture and creativity to the rest of the world.
However exciting and forward-thinking, concerns over high internet connectivity costs in the country persist, and buying data to access a streaming service such as this one might seem as frivolous expenditure for the average SABC viewer. But Telkom says they have varied offerings for different consumers.
We've got two different bouquets. The first bouquet is a totally free bouquet, and all of SABC's channels, their channels, as well as the catch up for that content, meaning someone can catch up for up to 24 hours of a program that's played. They can do that, or else go back, rewind, and all of that type of stuff is absolutely free. There's no charge to the consumer to access that. Then we've got our first subscription tier, which is what we refer to as Telkom Amp. And Telkom Amp, we've understood the market to which we are targeting, and therefore we've broken down the subscription into different tiers. There's a daily rate, there's a weekend, there's a weekly, and as well as a monthly rate. The daily rate comes in at 7 Rand, and what we've done is we've also added free data as part of that 7 Rand cost.
The SABC says that this platform is also designed to open up the industry by welcoming fresh content from young creatives.
The platform went live on Monday, It's TelkomONE, as in ONE.TV. There's a competition currently launched on there. So if you're a producer and so on, you can upload or enter the competition. And if your property is selected, then obviously there's some nice rewards for that as well. So that exists. Going forward, we will have some strategic partnerships, maybe content sharing and stuff like that, joint developments and things like that, the properties that we'll also be doing.
TelkomONE streaming went live on November 9th and is available for download on Android and iOS operating systems.
To further this discussion with us now is Tepo Chabalala, the Director of JamLab at the Wits Journalism School at the University of Witwatersrand. Thank you very much for being a part of our network, Tepo. Perhaps maybe if we start here, should the SABC get into this new digital space?
I believe it is a timely and strategic move by the SABC. You know, the growth in demand for video-on-demand entertainment services makes the need for a strong and well-funded public media offering more urgent than ever. You must remember that existing streaming or VOD platforms are currently not mandated to provide public value, and nor is it their role to do so. So in my view, despite all the challenges the institution faces, this is an important step towards addressing this gap. Because of the ever-changing technologies and innovations taking place within this space, it is important that the SABC continues to innovate and broaden their public offering beyond traditional broadcasting mediums such as radio and television.
Why do you say that it is timely? Does it not take away from the SABC's public broadcast mandate?
I believe that it will change the SABC, but fundamentally they should remain a public broadcaster based on the content and information that they disseminate, right? I mentioned that they should not change fundamentally, but it is important that the SABC modernize their offering without losing sight of their true identity. When you look at this, change should help to ensure that the SABC continues to best serve the public whilst ensuring the long-term survival. For example, right, this is what MultiChoice has done. They launched DSTV Now and Showmax to expand on their content offering and to keep up with the innovations taking place within this industry. I like to see the SABC innovating in the VOD space in South Africa and to also avoid private and commercial entities dominating the landscape.
The SABC has had a problem with collection of license fees. Now, as it moves into these digital spaces with a streaming service, how do you think the funding model should be?
Look, I do not have a clear understanding of how the license fee structure will work, but in order for this platform to be attractive, the freemium model they are offering works as a starting point. The SABC needs to be mindful that they currently have a loyal paying customer base, and their chosen model should ensure that loyalty is not penalized by the use of a paid subscription model. In addition to this, the SABC should find innovative ways of ensuring existing viewers continue to receive the service they pay whilst growing their VOD subscriber base. An example of this could be granting free TelkomONE amp access to existing license paying customers for a limited time. What hasn't been asked is what will happen to the SABC News app that was launched about a year ago. Will we see an integration or synergy between these two digital platforms?
The SABC has already said that they will be embarking on a retrenchment policy. Do you think this perhaps screams some good news for content creators who perhaps have new ideas for programs that could be screened by the SABC?
I think this is a great opportunity for content creators to expand their footprint, and I hope this will give small and medium content creators the chance to showcase their talent to a new audience. When Telkom launched a search for what they termed Mobivelas, which are soap operas for mobile phones as well as shows spanning comedy, travel and lifestyle, etc. This instantly created an opportunity for fresh and exciting content that couldn't fit the ambit of existing SABC offerings. So content creators should take this opportunity to pitch new content to the SABC.
Surely the SABC could have gone it on its own. Was there a need to partner with Telkom on this?
Look, from my understanding, I believe this concern has been thought about by the fact that this is a strategic partnership between the SABC and Telkom, which should allow for streaming viewers to consume content with data being less of a worry. However, we must not forget that any streaming service requires internet and data, and therefore this needs to be at the forefront of the partnership. A silver lining to this new offering could be the fact that it is in the best interest of a governing body to improve internet penetration in the country, especially in remote and rural areas.
And now, has the model of a streaming service by a public broadcaster ever worked anywhere else in the world?
To my knowledge, an example of where this has worked is in the United Kingdom. As many people would be aware, public broadcasting originated in the UK with the BBC. And the BBC continues to take a lead role in the evolution of public media, both locally within the UK and internationally. So the BBC launched BBC iPlayer in 2007 as a streaming service and have since worked on improving the platform. The BBC continues to make improvements to the way they determine who is a TV license holder and therefore who can consume online stream content. And therefore, currently, this is still largely based on an honesty system. And I think the SABC will have a similar problem unless they develop a way to ensure subscription alignment between the TV licenses and the streaming service.
Do you think we are entering a new phase of the SABC as probably a more commercial entity? And should the SABC fully commercialize?
In my view, public broadcasters' sole focus should not be to replace these private media giants, but rather supplement their offerings in the way of local premium content. This would mean that the public broadcaster's aim is not to become a commercial entity, but rather continue to provide a public service. In addition to this, the long-standing challenge of public broadcasters has been funding. Public broadcasters will never be able to compete with the likes of Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Showmax because they have big budgets for their productions and already have large subscriber bases.
All right, Tepo Chabalala from GemLab at the University of Witwatersrand. Thank you very much for being a part of our network this evening. And with that, let's take a short break. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back. Here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the technology space.
Apple Incorporated introduced a MacBook and other computers with the first microprocessor designed in-house. The new chip, called the M1, marks a shift away from Intel technology that has driven the electronic brains of Mac. It is a boon for Apple computers, which are overshadowed by the company's iPhone but still rack up tens of billions of dollars in sales per year. The MacBook Air will start at $999, the same as its predecessor. The Mini is targeted at engineers and scientists. The new products will be available from next week, executives said. Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba Group kick off its annual Singles Day mega shopping event this week. This year's online shopping extravaganza also comes a week after Alibaba lost almost $76 billion. Alibaba has said it will introduce more than 2 million new products, double the amount last year. Alibaba first launched the shopping event in 2009 and has made it the world's biggest online sales festival. One UK tech company has found a different way to keep us connected by beaming 5G across large areas directly from an aircraft.
It's essentially a cell phone tower sitting up in the sky at 60,000 feet. And obviously at that sort of altitude it can see much more than any small tower can on the ground. And it covers a huge area, so unlike a small cell phone tower on the ground which could cover a few kilometres, this covers around 140 kilometres in diameter, so a vast area, and anywhere within that beam you're going to be able to connect your cell phone at speeds of over 100 megabits per second.
The company says they're developing an emission-free hydrogen fuel cell system unnamed aircraft. The airborne network could slash the cost of running a next-generation system by as much as 70%.
The advantage of satellite is you can see large areas of the Earth, but you're a very long way away. So compared to flying in the stratosphere, you're between 10 and 100 times further away from the surface of the Earth in space than you are at the stratosphere. So it's an ideal sort of Goldilocks position. You're far enough up that you can see large areas of the ground, but you're close enough that you can get a very high performance service.
The technology also opens up the possibility of providing coverage exactly where required.
Now, Telkom has announced that they've lost 543,000 subscribers in a year. So this week, our Twitter poll is asking you if you think that phone lines are still relevant in the home or at work. Now, 15% of you say yes, they are. 61% of you, now that's an overwhelming majority. You say no, they're not. And there is 24% of you who say, well, they're relevant, but it just depends where. We also have responses from Ijahman, who says they are relevant when there is no electricity. You still have the opportunity to make a call through them. We also have Tato Mazangwana, who says Telkom should be aligning itself with new technologies, utilizing the recent systems, and it can save their business and keep it relevant. And that's it. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's newsnetwork at sabc.co.za, on email. From me, Asiphumelele Zondi at the beach in Durban. Have a good one. Keep it safe wherever you are.